2 points. 2 points. That's all it was. Arsenal were only 2 points short of winning the title last season. Of course, Pep Guardiola's Manchester City team are dazzling, but on last season's display, the only thing separating Mikel Arteta's Arsenal and this iconic, historic Manchester City team was 2 points. Arsenal finished runners-up to Manchester City for the second season in a row, despite the fact that they managed to accrue a massive 89 points. 89 points! 89 points. There was once a time when my definition of what made a great Premier League team was the 90-point barrier. Now I know that football has changed. Jurgen Klopp's contribution, Pep Guardiola's contribution, they have made it so that 90 points is no longer the barrier for greatness. But Arsenal achieved 89 points and didn't win the league. It would have won the league in 20 of the previous 31 seasons. So next season is absolutely massive for Mikel Arteta, for this Arsenal team, and for Arsenal Football Club as a whole. As Martin Odegaard said, last season they made history. Next season, it's all about silverware. And I think it's fair to say that Arsenal do need a trophy. There is no doubt that Arsenal are one of the biggest clubs in the country with a rich and distinguished history. But I think that even the most devoted and biased of clock-ender would concede that they do now need a trophy. I mean, it's all very well, isn't it? Playing well, breaking records, adopting a manager's philosophy, improving both individually and as a team. But to coin a phrase that is ironically spouted by Tottenham fans, the game is about glory. And glory comes in the form of silverware. So what Arsenal need to do, what their fans are desperate to see them do, what their players are trying to do, and what Mikel Arteta is trying to inspire them to do, is to harness the disappointment and the despair of losing the league by 2 points last season to go one better next year. For what it's worth, Arsenal were my tip to win the league last year, and I got that one wrong. Ultimately, I got a prediction wrong. Weird, I know, you wouldn't have expected it, but yes, I did get this wrong. And I'll be frank with you, I have never been more delighted to be wrong about anything in my entire life than my prediction that Arsenal would win the league last year. I was celebrating from the rooftops, doing the Marco Tardelli celebration around my house when Manchester City won the league. Because I never want to see Arsenal win the league again. I saw far too much of that in my youth. Thank you very much. But sadly, ultimately, I believe that Arsenal are going to win the league next season. There are many reasons as to why I think it will go their way, but ultimately it boils down to this. If you are perennially knocking on the door, forever asking questions, forever banging that door down, ultimately somebody will answer that door. It's a theory that I believe in that actually goes way beyond Arsenal Football Club. I truly believe that England will win silverware soon. Whether it's the World Cup in America, whether it's the European Championships after that or the World Cup after that, at some point, England will win silverware. And why do I think that? I think that because we are knocking on the door. 2 consecutive finals, a semi-final in a World Cup, a quarter-final in the World Cup. Ultimately, we are asking the question. And when you forever ask the question, relentlessly ask the question, at some point, somebody will answer. It actually goes beyond sport, doesn't it? If you are forever trying, forever doing your best, forever desperately pushing the boundaries, at some point, I think you'll get your reward. And Arsenal Football Club, annoyingly, are doing just that. It's a proven theory. There are many examples, many case studies that I could use here, but I'm going to use my favourite one. I'm going to obviously bring up Chelsea winning the Champions League in 2012. Why did Chelsea win the Champions League in 2012? People will say it's because you got very lucky, and don't get me wrong, there was luck involved in that particular circumstance. But overall, it was always coming. There was no luck involved. We got to 6 semi-finals in the 9 years before we won it. And painfully, it feels to me that there is an inevitability that Arsenal will, in fact, win the league next season. Because they are going to be even better. They are going to be even stronger. They are going to be even more hungry, more relentless, more keen, more desperate, more up for it, more experienced and more ready. And they're going to be like that because of their past experiences. Because of the heartache of being runners-up for 2 consecutive years. Because of the agony of not winning the Premier League title for 2 decades. The experience of losing, the journey that has gone on so far, will contribute to Arsenal being ready to win the league next season. And all of that experience, all of that pain combines to create a situation where Arsenal are going to be even stronger than they were last season. They're going to be a more daunting proposition next year. Individually, they're going to be stronger. Managerially, they're going to be stronger. As a collective, they're going to be stronger. As a club, they're going to be stronger. As a support, they're going to be stronger. All because of what happened last year. Pick anyone. Bukayo Saka. Bukayo Saka is obviously a better player today than he was 365 days ago. He's maturing. He's more experienced. He's had the experience with England. And he now knows that 89 points might not be enough to win you the league. So he will be ready for that challenge and for that reality. And it extends to everyone. Martin Odegaard. Martin Odegaard will be 26 this season, ready to take the team by the scruff of the neck, drag the team to victories that maybe they don't deserve, because he is coming into his peak years. Mikel Arteta will be more astute. He will have learnt from certain mistakes that were made last season. Now, wherever you see those mistakes, whatever you think they are, it almost doesn't matter, but he will have learnt from them. For example, if you believe that Mikel Arteta should have gone for the jugular at the Etihad, I actually do. I obviously think it's a respectable point to go away to the Etihad and get a draw. But the form that City were in around that fixture, the form that Arsenal were in around that fixture, I think that Mikel Arteta will look back on that performance at the Etihad and think that his team were capable of going there and getting a victory. Now, of course, they did well. They got exactly what they wanted to get out of the game. Gabriel and Saliba were immense. Erling Haaland got nothing that day. But when you are competing at the very top, the upper echelon of the game, competing for the most coveted prize in the game, maybe a point isn't enough against your biggest rival. And if I'm right about that, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was lost somewhere else. But if I'm right about that, and Arteta happens to think that that is also the case, he will now know. He will now know where he thinks he lost it. So he'll be more ready and more prepared for the challenge ahead. They've also been very sharp, making sure that they are ready, like a coiled spring, ready to launch as soon as the season starts. They've barely had any rest. They've been on an early training camp in Marbella. Basically, any Arsenal player who was not involved in the Euros, so for example, Martin Odegaard, he hasn't been on holiday. I mean, he has. He's been on holiday, but not for as long as you would think. He's been in Marbella with his team preparing for the new season. So Martin Odegaard, Ben White, Jurrien Timber have already started to build their fitness ahead of the new season. So when most players in the Premier League, most of Arsenal's rivals in the Premier League, are just getting back into pre-season, using pre-season as the opportunity to find fitness again, Odegaard, Timber, White, they're already ready. And they've also been very clever in the transfer market. You know, David Raya has signed. He won the Golden Gloves last year, and he has now signed officially for Arsenal. So Arsenal will go into the new season knowing exactly who their number one is. There'll be no jeopardy, no conversation, no Ramsdale distraction. David Raya is the keeper. We can also see that there's a new strategy that's been adopted by Arsenal when it comes to making transfers. The links to the likes of Sesko, Calafiore, Hato show us that Arsenal are determined to sign younger players. You know, they won't be making those expensive signings like they did last year. There won't be another Declan Rice. Not because it went wrong. You know, he slotted into the team brilliantly and he's a fantastic Premier League player. But Arsenal have to be careful about the money. The reason that David Raya was signed on loan and then ultimately signed this summer was because Arsenal were navigating a very tricky line when it comes to their finances. But I think this is what Arsene Wenger wants to do. But I think this is what Mikel Arteta wants to do. He wants to bring in more players that he can utilise, and actually try and get rid of some players as well. Try and make some money by selling some of the players that he deems no longer necessary or useful options. Like Arsenal's title challenge last year, as impressive as it was built on pretty much 15 players. Now, I reckon that Mikel Arteta has looked at that and deduced that it probably isn't enough. Surely he'll want to rotate with a deeper squad. 20, 22 players even. And the way that you do that is you utilise your academy and you make clever signings. Signings that are happy to learn, to elevate their standard and to perfect their craft whilst not getting massive amounts of game time. So Jarell Hato would have been a perfect signing for Arsenal, as would Benjamin Sesko. They haven't come off, but just the links to players like that demonstrates exactly what Mikel Arteta is hoping to do next season. Grow his squad, allow players to be utilised few and far between, and elevate along with the club. It's also important to remember that next season Arsenal will play 8 group games in the Champions League. 8! So he really is going to have to make full use of his squad. Another reason that's worth exploring as to why Arsenal didn't win the league was because the squad wasn't big enough. They didn't make enough changes. There was simply a distinct lack of rotation. Just to demonstrate this, listen to these stats. Mikel Arteta in the whole of last season made 63 changes to his first 11. Only Crystal Palace made fewer. So while Arsenal made 63, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, the team that Arsenal were hunting down, made 104. 63 versus 104. So if Arteta tweaks it right, grows the squad, makes full use of the academy and allows certain players to leave. Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Eddie Nketiah are all surplus to requirements and could bring in big money for the club. For example, if Calafiore comes in, which we think he will, if he comes in, Zinchenko or Kiwior, in fact, Zinchenko and Kiwior could even leave. Aaron Ramsdale will go and even Tomiyasu could be surplus to requirements. But that's where we are. Annoyingly, I think that Arsenal are making all the right steps, all the right noises, and therefore they will be stronger than they were last season. Will that be enough for them to win the league? Some will say yes, some will say no. Some will think that Manchester City will find another rhythm, another gear, and go again. Maybe some think Arne Slot's Liverpool will be a rival, but for me, it's a two-horse race. And painfully, I just think Arsenal are going to be so strong next year. But fingers crossed, Pep Guardiola and Manchester City can make a fist for it and win their, 5th in a row. God, do you know how depressing it is to be a Chelsea fan here and basically say, already, I hope Man City win the league? So much for the pre-season optimism. It is not a good time to be a Chelsea fan. Absolute agony, in fact. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Really interested to hear what you have to say. I appreciate you watching. Please give it a like if you've enjoyed it. Click subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next video in a bit.